Today in the podcast, I would like to talk about a topic that many, especially gay men, but many men in general don't like to talk about. And the topic is when cancer strips you of your manhood pride. My name is Eric. Welcome to the craziness that lives inside my head. Now, since I'm a recovering prostate cancer, I guess recovering or survivor, a lot of things came to mind, and I've met on the Dateline that I'm not the only one. And what I want to talk about is when I didn't have cancer, prostate cancer, and when I was younger, if I run up across a guy online, and usually this happened to me more than once now. This definitely happened to me a decade ago, because a guy, I was on the Dateline, and it was an older guy than I was, and he contacted me. Oh, you know how they do that. Oh, I like you. You look. And then didn't live far from me now. Didn't live far from me. And tried to set up a date with me, and he asked me some questions. And the questions were that, have I ever had sex with a man who has to use a pump to pump up their penis? I said no. And he said, well, that's what I have to do. I have to pump my penis up. Will you have a problem with that? And then I told him, I don't know. I said, I never had sex with a guy who had to pump it up. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I've heard stories. My friend Eddie, back in the 90s, he dated an older guy that he told me stories. We had to pump it up before, they fooled around. But other than that, that's the only experience I really had. So, long story short, when he said that he wanted to come over, but would I be uncomfortable with him doing it? And I like I said, I don't know. And then I thought about it, but I didn't have to come to a decision because he never got back to me. And I went, phew. Because at the time, like I said, I've never had sex with a man who had to pump up the penis, I don't know how I would react. I mean, the thought of it wasn't very sexy. I'm going to be honest with you. The thought of it wasn't very sexy at all. So let's fast forward. So when I got diagnosed that I had prostate cancer, and my cancer was, as I said, confined, that they did all the tests, to make sure I didn't have cancer in my bones. It didn't spread. So the cancer didn't spread. And I opted for the radiation and the hormone treatment, but I still have my prostate. And I asked the doctor, is it possible, thank God it was a male doctor, that could I get my mojo back on after if everything go all right. And he persisted. He didn't say yes, he didn't say no. He just said, well, there's a lot of options. And one of the options, one is implant. The other one, he was two other options. And then he mentioned the pump, or to pump it up. And then he said, well, we can also, and I'm the one who mentioned Viagra. He said, well, that's a possibility. He said that make my decision, and whatever I decide, well, you know what I decide. I decide I'm on Cialis, the Cialis way. And I've been going on 2 years since, well, it's definitely over a year and a half since I had the hormone treatment. And now I'm getting very frisky. Unfortunately, other things not getting very frisky, but I get horny. So with that in mind, so I'm just starting to get horny again. When I was on a hormone treatment, you won't believe this. When I was on a hormone treatment, if I saw a naked man, especially the type of man I like, nothing would happen. I just look at it and I say, oh, okay. I mean, and plus, I was dating during that time, and certain guys were trying to get me going, but it didn't work. But now since it's been a year and a half and I'm on Cialis, yes, I get horny. I get horny. And so I met a couple of guys on the date line, the date line that's for the older men. And one guy, we were talking messenger back and forth, so I let it be known that I'm a survivor of prostate cancer. And the reason why I had to let him know that, because if we were to get involved, he had to know that unfortunately I wasn't working. In other words, I'm damaged goods. I couldn't couldn't get it up. So he wrote back to me. He was saying that he's a prostate cancer survivor and he pumps it up. He said that he has to pump his up, blah, 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 blah. And then he said, that's all he said. And I just left it like that. Now, I have to sit back and think. Now, you might say to me, I have a lot of guys say, what's the big deal? You just pump it up and get going. Well, that's something for me you have to get used to. You can't just jump into that. I mean, the thought of when I was younger in the 90s and 80s, and like I said, I had my friend Eddie who was talking about his boyfriend had to pump it up. I didn't find that very sexy. I kind of find it very weird, of course. And I didn't find it very romantic. So anyway, here I am in pretty much the same situation. Of course, if I want to get it up, I can always go back to my doctor, my urologist. Oh, yeah, okay, I'll opt for the pump. But meanwhile, I'm taking Cialis. Like I said, I get horny, but there's no way I can perform sexually, but I do get horny. And it's more, as they say when I was younger, when the older guys used to say, well, there's more than one thing just to have sex. The hugging, the hugging, the kissing, and all. Yeah, I'm into all that too. So I feel very bad because I never got back to the guy. I mean, he never got back to me. I never got back to him. It was complete silence. Then I met another guy, and we were talking, and he says to me that he was a prostate cancer survivor also, and he started questioning me. Do you know the different ways you can get the pump, you can get the implant, and you can do this, you can do that, and then he was very nice. He said, well, we ain't always gotta have intercourse. I said there's other ways that we can get off, and yes there is. But what I'm saying is, the topic is manhood. I mean, I feel less than a man. And it's morally pride anyway. I think it's more, I shouldn't say let's feel less than a man. It's my man pride. I feel like, wow, I can't get it up. And being that I feel this way, when I talk to regular guys and they start talking that talk, that sex talk, oh, I'll do this to you and I do this. What are you going to do to me, daddy? Well, daddy can't get it up. Daddy don't know what to do. And when you talk to these young guys, and I was young once, God forbid if you tell them that you can't get a hard on, click, they don't want to be bothered anymore. So now I have to, sit and meditate on the subject. And maybe I should just put all that aside, put all that man pride shit aside, and maybe take a chance on one of these older guys, I should say guys my age, who are pumping it up, and just to see what is it all about. And this is what this whole podcast is about. Taking a chance, putting your pride aside and take a chance and enjoy another part of life. You just heard the craziness that lives inside my head.